So in today's video, I'm going to be covering everything you need to know on how to create cart and checkout abandoned flows inside Klaviyo. I'm going to be covering the difference between the cart and checkout abandoned flows. I'm going to be telling you how to set up the tracking correctly to make sure the flows are actually firing properly. I'm going to give you two different flow layouts that you can choose from. I'm going to show you how to set up dynamic content. And finally, I'm going to run over each email and give a brief and design tips for each one so you know exactly what to do when it comes to actually creating the emails. My name is Josh. I run an email and SMS marketing agency, and basically this is all I do. I create flows, emails and campaigns for various clients, and this is what's worked for us. So I thought I'd just go ahead and show you exactly what's currently working rather than spending time in the theory. I'm just going to show you what we do and what works. So this will be your step-by-step guide covering everything you need to know on how to create an abandoned cart and checkout email flow for your Klaviyo account. So let's get straight into it. Why do you actually need an abandoned cart and checkout email? So industry benchmarks tell us that 7 out of 10 carts are abandoned by shoppers. As you can see using this study here that I found by Baymard Institute, this is the numbers they report. 70% or 7 out of 10 of carts are abandoned. So even if our flows lead to recapturing 10 to 15% of these abandons, it will be worth it. That's basically free sales that otherwise would have been forgotten about. This is even more crucial for brands at scale, leading to the email channel becoming one of the most valuable assets as you grow and as you expand as a brand. Not only that, but even for the carts that aren't recovered, it does wonders for your email channel on the whole. We tend to see a really high engagement rate on abandoned cart and checkout emails, so there's still a benefit even if they don't buy, and that is increased brand awareness and increased email deliverability. On average, 45% of cart and checkout emails are opened, 21% of those emails get clicked, and then 50% of those clicks lead to a recovered purchase. So really good metrics on these emails. So even if you're not capturing that many sales, like I said, for your email channel, you'll be doing wonders for your deliverability and exposure. So in this video, like I mentioned, we're going to be going over the difference between the abandoned cart and checkout flows, making sure Klaviyo triggers are set up and working, the two flow outline options, dynamic content, the 8 emails with inspiration and goals, and how to set up the flows inside Klaviyo. So let's get straight into it. So starting off with the difference between the two, a lot of people set up their abandoned cart flow using Klaviyo's template, which is fine. However, this presents us with one main issue. Klaviyo's template uses the abandoned checkout event trigger, not the abandoned cart. So people think they have an abandoned cart flow, but it's actually an abandoned checkout flow. These two flows fundamentally do the same thing. However, it's an important distinction to make because they will trigger at two different points in the customer checkout process. The abandoned cart will trigger if someone triggers at this stage. So as you can see, this is once you've added something to cart. If you leave that without going to the checkout stage, this is where the abandoned cart flow will trigger. While the abandoned checkout will trigger here. So as you can see, this is a Shopify checkout page. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this page. But yeah, this is where if you abandon at this stage, you'll be getting the checkout flow. So basically we'll have two identical flows with different triggers and filters to make sure we're capturing abandoners at all different stages of the customer lifecycle. So obviously if we only had one, then we'd be losing around 50% roughly of the other half people that abandoned at the other stage. So it's really important that we have these two set up. You can make the emails different, but generally I like to just have the same email content and just have it so people can't trigger both flows back to back. So that's sort of the strategy that we're going to be going over, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that inside Klaviyo. So another important thing that you must have set up before tackling this flow is your triggers. It's not uncommon to have some issues with these metrics in your Klaviyo, to be honest. So to check that both these events are firing, we need to go to Klaviyo, Analytics, Metrics, Filter by Shopify, and then you'll see two events, added to cart, and one called checkout started. So once you've located these two events, you should be able to click on them and see that these events are firing. If you've got numbers on your graph, that means these events are firing and being tracked correctly. If not, there's a few different workarounds you can have. Either you're not fully embedded properly, which if you go onto your Shopify integration screen, you should see a green box here, and this means you're fully integrated. So if it's still not working after this, you can try resetting the integration. So just turn it off and back on again. And then if this still doesn't work, there's this help article here, which should cover everything if you don't know how to fix your integration. But pretty simple. Basically, you just need to have both of these events firing like so. So here are the two main flow outlines that I spoke about. The main distinction between these two outlines is the discount. So this is completely up to you and what you're sort of trying to go for as a brand. Obviously, as you can see, we've got one with a discount and one without. Very similar structure. I mean, it's the same flow, but one has a discount at the end and one doesn't. Obviously, the discount one is much preferred, and we see a much higher uptake in revenue and recovered carts. But obviously, that's at a slight expense to margin. So it's completely up to you which one you want to choose. I'm going to be covering the discount flow in this video, but the non-discount flow is just the exact same, just minus the discount emails. So let's get straight into the dynamic content. Without dynamic content, our emails are basically going to perform shit. The main reason abandoned cart and checkout emails work so well is because people can see the exact items that they're abandoning. Many people struggle getting dynamic content set up, but it's actually really straightforward. Something I do want to touch on, like I just briefly mentioned there, if people aren't seeing the products that they're abandoning, then they're probably just not going to respond to the email. It'll just look like any other generic email campaign. But if someone opens an email and briefly sees a product that they were looking at earlier, they'll know it's exactly tailored to them, and they'll be much more likely to go ahead and at least have a look at the products that they've abandoned. So as you can see, I've got 2 different Loom videos here that go over setting up the dynamic content with all the copy and pastables there. So I'm going to link this document in the top of the description. It's just a website called Gamma. What you're going to do is you can come down to these videos, you can watch these videos, and you can use the copy and pastables here to set up your dynamic content. It's really simple, really straightforward. Spend some time to get it right. Make sure that you test it and make sure that it is right. But yeah, you should have no issues. As you can see, we've got 2 different dynamic content blocks for the 2 different flows, so make sure you set them both up. And then a quick tip. Once you've set them up and once you've tested them and once you know that they're working, make sure that you actually favorite them and then save them into your universals tab. So basically, once you've set the table and you know it's the right one and you know it's working, hit the star icon, and then every time you create one of these emails, you can go into your content, universal, and then from there, you will have your block, your dynamic content block ready to go for the next email. The main thing is make sure that you distinguish between abandoned cart and abandoned checkout triggers and then name them accordingly and use them in the respective flows. So that covers most of the theory. At the end of the video, I'm going to go over how to actually set up the Klaviyo flows. But just for now, the flow emails, just before I get into the in-depth guide on each individual email, I just wanted to go over a few rules of thumb for your flow email design. So now you've got all the tips and tricks to make your abandoned cart and checkout flows perform. What should you actually include? There's many different routes you can take design-wise. So as long as you stick to these 3 rules of thumb, basically whatever you do with your design will be fine. So the main thing, like I just touched on, I'm going to say it again, is dynamic content. No matter what design you're going for with your abandoned cart and checkout emails, make sure you put your dynamic content in. It's so important. Second thing, don't overwhelm. We don't need to do any heavy selling here. Like I said, the dynamic content will do most of the selling for you. Keep it light-hearted. You're doing the reader a favor. So instead of doing any hard selling, you're just trying to do them a favor and remind them that, hey, you left this behind. Do you want to continue or not? So it's just more of a nudge, more of a reminder saying that you forgot this. Do you want to continue, rather than any hard selling? And then finally, keeping it simple. So these emails have one simple goal: to show people what they left behind and make them check out. That's it. So these do not need to go into any crazy depth. No brand stories, no nothing like that. Just like to keep it simple. People already know your brand. They already know stuff about you if they're on your website and they're checking out products. So yeah, basically all I want to do, show them the content, show them the products they left behind with a little bit of copy, and then try send them on their way. So moving into the first email, just a basic notification. The sole purpose is to show people what they forgot and give them one route to finish their order. So you'll see a lot of purchases from this email because this is just the straight up reminder saying, look, you forgot this, do you want to check out? So the design for this will be straight to the point, headline and copy with no fluff, no BS, just straight to the point. Section 2 will obviously be your dynamic content. And then section 3, you can either have a small graphic, a bit of a brand graphic with some copy or not, or you can just leave it there. So you can either just have the 2 sections or 3. As you can see in these examples above, if I just go ahead and open these up. Yeah, so as you can see here, for these emails, we've just got a little bit of a graphic at the end, just closing out, just giving a little bit of context and a bit more selling assets, basically. Moving on to email 2, we've just got a reminder. So this will come the next day after the first one. And this is very similar to the first one, but it's just a general reminder. So remind people again and provide more information and incentive. So this will be converting people who missed the first email or people who saw it but need a little bit of convincing. So section 1 will be a benefit-driven headline and copy. So on the first one, we were just telling people. On this one, we want to be a bit salesy with it almost. We want to give a benefit. Like as you can see with these ones here, this one's promoting the free shipping aspect in their abandoned cart email. Section 2, again, dynamic content. And then 3, further incentive, i.e. social proof, any different offers you've got, just something to try push people over the edge. So this is basically the first email, just with a bit more sales aspects. Email 3, we're going into a product-specific promo. So what we do here is I like to split by category, which you might remember from earlier when I showed you the flow layouts, there was a split halfway through. So this sort of splits by categories, which I can show you how to do in a minute. But basically what we want to do is we want to create category or product specific emails here to sell people on specific products. So we want to give product/category specific information to further educate and incentivize and convince people that they need your products to solve XYZ problem. So this is almost like a promotion for that category more than an abandoned checkout email. So section 1, we're going to give a product/category focused headline and copy with the hero image that's also focused on this product. Section 2, dynamic content again, and then 3, further information and sales graphics for that specific product. So this is like a product promo, like I said, but for the product that they abandoned. So to set this up inside Klaviyo is really straightforward. What you want to do is you want to drag in a trigger split, grab your trigger split, add categories, contains, and then go ahead and select whichever categories that you want. So as you can see here, we've got quite a few different categories here. Basically, the reason we've got many different categories is because depending on how your Shopify is set up, the products that you're trying to target for this email will probably be split across multiple categories. So, for example, if you're a supplement brand and you're wanting to do an email on protein powder, then you may have normal protein, whey protein, vegan protein, whey isolate, and all those different things. So you want to make sure that you're adding all of those categories in, and then from there, we add yes, and then we add the email about that category on the yes side, and then on the no side, we add another trigger split and add another category with the category email on the yes side, and then no, another trigger split. And basically we keep going down until we've done all the categories that we want, and then at the end, we're gonna add a catch-all email. So after the last trigger split on the no side, we're gonna add an email, which will be a generic product promo. So the reason we wanna add a catch-all is because the Shopify Klaviyo integration for this isn't great and it can be a bit faulty. So we want to add a catch-all to make sure anyone that doesn't get split into any of the specific categories still receives an email. So that's why we add a catch-all email that just is a basic product promo and sort of a brand promo. So moving on to email 4, this is going to keep the theme of product-specific emails, but this will be product-specific reviews. Obviously, if you're a bit of a smaller brand and you don't have that many reviews, this can just be the same email and then just split it across your different categories. But if you are a big brand and you have a lot of reviews, try find some product-specific reviews, and go ahead and add those to the category that you've just split. So give readers product-specific reviews and testimonials to give the final push. So section 1 will be a product category specific customer review used as or underneath the headline. So what I mean by that is we'll have the review in the headline or underneath the headline. So if I just go ahead and show you this, as you can see with this email, we've got the headline is the review, and then we've just got a bit of a further review underneath, moving into the dynamic content. And then this one is using a normal headline with some reviews there. But that's sort of the layout for this one. Moving down into dynamic content, of course. And then 3, we're going to add more reviews that are product specific and also that solve a common objection. So you want to go quite deep with these reviews. You want to find some longer ones, some more in-depth ones, and try find some that solve a common issue that you find with your product. Don't just throw in any random ones. Try be intentional with the reviews that you actually put in this email. So moving on to email 5, this is the last chance email. So this is just urgency. This is just saying your cart's about to run out, purchase. This is a very, very straightforward email. Urgency-based headline and copy, dynamic content, and then any leftover reviews or incentives or different products or anything like that. Something that you can just incentivize people with underneath the last chance. So now moving on to the discount emails. So these are your optional emails that you may want to do, you may not want to. So obviously this is very straightforward. We're just offering a discount and then showing the dynamic content for this email. And then for the second discount email, this would be a reminder sent a day or two later. And this one is the same, except in section 3, it's important to offer different products because after 6 emails and a discount code, if they still aren't checking out their cart, then they probably don't want it. So we're going to add some products and some product categories, underneath the dynamic content, just to incentivize people to go ahead and shop for other stuff. Something I do want to touch on briefly is you may be thinking, why are we sending so many emails? But we still see sales further down in the funnel, all the way down here. And when we get to the last email, you'll see that that email actually performs quite well as well. People forget. People don't check their inbox as much as you think, and people need to be reminded, especially when they're this close to making a purchase. There's no point in not sending them emails and making sure that they see the content and see the dynamic content, and see the products that they are missing out on. So moving down into the final email, this will be a text-based email where we're providing a personal touch to give one last offer of the cart and or discount code. So this makes the brand feel really human. This email can be switched for email 2 if you prefer this email. So if you prefer the text-based emails and you prefer the brand reaching out sort of style. If you prefer the personal touch, go ahead and add this as your second email. Obviously, you're gonna have to change the wording up, but this is sort of positioned from the founder or from the team that should have a heavy personal and like conversational tone. And yeah, this offers one final chance at the items or at the discount code. So that's all of the emails that I want to touch on for this flow. Finally, similar to how we did with dynamic content, for the flow setup, we've got two videos here. As you can see, we've got the trigger and the filters here, so you may not even need to watch the videos. If you're familiar with setting up flows in Klaviyo, you can just go off the filters and the triggers. But yeah, that's everything for the abandoned cart and checkout flow. I hope you got some value from this video. If you do want us to do it for you, if you think you can't be bothered or it's too complicated or you just want to outsource it, go ahead and book in a consultation with me on my website, and yeah, we can chat about it. But that's everything from me. Bye.